guests getting their views on the big contenders for the 2011 Championships. Plus, we'll see the opening game in the Hurling Championship as Antrim took on Laois. So stay with us to see who are with Ulster, given we had the match from there. Kevin, will you take us through the draw here?
Yeah. Well, this is the province, Des, obviously, that is the minefield, the most difficult to win, but amazingly, Tyrone and Armagh keep winning it. But in the top half of the draw, the big match is Armagh Down. That's where the asterisk has to be put in. I expect Down will win it, but won't be a bit surprised if Armagh do. I think they'll come through to meet Derry. In the bottom half, as I said to you before, I believe Tyrone will come through on that, and they'll meet Donegal in it. Hard to say who might win it outright. I think Tyrone will come through. Donegal will be the team that might cause the shock in that province.
All right, well, let's go to our guests. Jack O'Shea, I see you're going for Down to carry on from last year.
Yeah, I think that they impressed me last year. I think they improved a lot last year. I saw them in the league game against Dublin. I was very, very impressed with them. Provided they start to play the ball a bit longer, like today's game, I think they're overplaying the short game a small bit. I think they possess some very good forwards up front, and if they get the ball in fast, I think they're a very effective team. And I think they probably are the team in Ulster with the best pace at the moment. So I think with their pace and their youth and the momentum they will carry forward from last year, I think will help them out this year. And I think their big game is against Armagh. If they get over the Armagh hurdle, I'd fancy them to win the Ulster title.
And pace is the big thing now, yeah?
Well, I think pace. I think they've Benny Coulter and these fellas are very good forwards. You know, when they get the ball in fast, they're very effective. And Marty Clark pulls a lot of strings around the centre forward position. But I think overall they will gain a lot of experience from last year. They were lucky probably against Kildare at the end to get through, but they've proven the All Ireland final that they're a pretty good side, and I think they'll learn from that.
Okay, Barney Rock, I see, unlike when you're singing with Jacko, you're in tune with him on this. You're going for Down as well, but Tyrone are the favourites. Why do you not go for Tyrone?
Well, I think that at this stage somebody has to break the dominance of Armagh and Tyrone. I think of all the teams that are best equipped to do it, I think Down are. And I really think that it could be a new final this year with Down and Donegal in the final. And I think it'll be good for the game if that happens. But having said that, I think that Down will feel that I seen them in the match against Dublin. I thought they did play very, very well. And I know Martin Clark came off that day saying it was one of the toughest games he has ever played in. And I think they'll learn. I think they'll want to get back to the championship in August. And I think the best way for them is to come through the front door because and win the Ulster title. Because last year, if you remember, they were very lucky to beat Longford up and down, and they were very lucky then to beat Offaly. And I think there's too many trapdoors for them. They could get caught.
All right then. So let's have a look at how all of our guys voted then. All of the panel, they had a vote on that. We'll come to that in a moment after. Pat, you're going to take us through the Leinster draw.
Well, this is the most lopsided of all the provincial draws because you take the bottom half of 5 teams and 4 of them have operated in Division 3 this year and 1 in Division 4. You'd love to see Louth come through and win it after last year. It's a lottery. I think perhaps maybe Offaly might get to the final. The winners will come from the top. Kildare defensively are very good. Without Dermot Early, I think they don't have class quality forwards. Kildare and Meath have the forwards, don't have the pace. I think Meath will get to the Leinster final. Laois are another team like Donegal. They've adopted the blanket defence as the means forward, so they'll win 1 game. Dublin, I think, have the fitness, have the work rate, have the players. Now, why they got beaten last year in the semi-final and why they got beaten this year in the league final was because they lacked the composure, they lacked leadership, they lacked confidence. Cork were like that for years, and provided Dublin will learn from that defeat in the league final, I think Dublin are certainties for to win Leinster.
Certainly.
But you put Meath in the final with them, didn't you?
Yeah.
Sure
sorry, my apology.
Yeah, they can't.
Meath will get to the semi-final with Dublin. Dublin will get to the final. They'll be probably playing Offaly. It'll be a one-sided final, I think, no matter who comes through. Dublin.
Yeah. All right. Well, one man who hasn't gone for Dublin is Oisín McConville. You've gone for Kildare, Oisín.
Yeah, funny. I seen Kildare in a behind closed doors match on Thursday night, and I was very, very impressed when they played Armagh in a challenge match, and I just feel as if, you know, they were fairly quiet during the league. They've a couple of boys come back from injury, and I think, you know, they are a team who can gain a lot of possession around the middle of the field. I think, you know, the one difference between Kildare and Dublin is, you know, there's probably no scars there from previous defeats, and I think Kildare, to me, looked the strongest and the most likely team to come through that top section of the draw, and I think when they do, they can win the Leinster title.
Liam McHale, you go for Dublin?
Yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned as about the league final. I think, with Alan Brogan not playing and Bernard going off with about 12, 14 minutes to go, it takes away a lot of their attacking prowess. I'd be looking for Owen O'Gara to improve on last year, Michael Dermot McAuliffe to improve. They're a big, strong physical team, and I think they have the tools now and the experience to go on and win Leinster. And I think if they get out of Leinster, they'll be very dangerous in the All-Ireland series.
Right, well, this was probably the most predictable one of our 7 guests. If you have a look at how they went for predictions, look at 6 of our 7 guests in studio went for Dublin, and Oisin McConville stands alone with Kildare, but he could well be the man of the moment. Let's look at the Munster draw then now. Kevin, take us through the Munster draw.
Well, the Munster draw is there such a thing as a certainty in sport? They say there isn't, but I think this is it. It's the Munster final. It's in Killarney, and it's going to be Cork and Kerry with the utmost well, I know it's a cliche, respect here. They're just not at that. I know Liam was down there looking after Clare, but I just don't see it for any of the others. The Kerry and Cork sides are so far ahead, and there's really no more to be said about it.
Well, Derek Kavanagh has been an integral part of the Cork team. Cork and Kerry have shown us that winning the Munster final actually isn't really that relevant to an All-Ireland. Is that a fair point, Derek?
Yeah, I suppose it is. I think the competition is so intense between the two that whoever loses, it's usually by a point or two in a Munster final, and probably they regroup fast enough and they get all the stronger for it because the game is actually so tough, and they're well equipped to go on and play other teams from other provinces. So I just think it's a completely separate championship. Whoever loses, they go back and lick their wounds, and they come back all the stronger a couple of weeks after.
And in a word, who did you go for here?
I went for Kerry, actually, for the simple fact that it's a long time since Cork won in Killarney, and that's the only thing that swayed me. I think the flick of a coin between them, but I just think it's a long time since Cork won in Killarney, and
I don't know if it's a mind games, Derek, but your buddy from Kerry there, Jacko, you've gone for Cork.
I was talking to Pat before, and we decided we'd boost Cork up, No, I think Cork, you would have to say Cork at the moment are probably the best team in the country, the best panel of players in the country, and I think they showed in the league final that they could win a big game without a lot of their star players as well. I think Kerry... one thing I think that might be in Kerry's favour this year in the Munster Championship is that they have a few places that are up for grabs in the team, and I feel that the game against Tipperary will be a good match for them. I feel the challenge they will get when they go to Limerick will be a real good test for the Kerry team, and I think it might help Jack O'Connor along his way to have his team settled for the Munster final. But Kerry and Cork and Killarney is a great occasion. We always in Kerry tip up Cork,
All right, OK. Well, let's see then how the neutrals have gone. This is how our 7 lads voted for Munster. 4-3 split, 4 for Kerry and 3 for Cork. Barney, Jacko and Oisin McConville going for Cork, and the 4 others going for Kerry. All right then, the draw in Connacht's, Pat Spillane.
Well, last year this drew up, I think, the most enjoyable provincial championship and the most competitive, and Roscommon winning it. This year you have Roscommon and Sligo. I thought Sligo left the Connacht title behind them, having beaten Galway and Mayo last year. I think mentally they weren't tuned in for the Connacht final, and they had won already. Roscommon is the second year syndrome. Donny Shine made his mark last year. I think he'll be targeted. I think he'll be marked out of the game. I fancy Sligo to come through to the Connacht final. A lot of talk about Galway, particularly on the success of their under-21s. But look, bottom line, there's a huge difference between under-21 and senior. There's a big step up. It takes a couple of years of transition. I think without Michael Meehan, he won't be fit for the first. I think Galway will be beaten by Mayo. Like the look of Mayo during the league under James Horton. Jason Doherty, 7 goals during the league. Aidan Freeman. They have good forwards. I think they're fresher. They're more enthusiastic. Probably still weak defensively in midfield, but I fancy Mayo to win Connacht.
All right. Derek Kavanagh, who would you go for in Connacht?
I went for Mayo, as Pat was saying. They seem to be going well through the league, and I think they've learned a lot from last year, and they're over that hangover. And I tip them, yeah.
Liam McHale, you've gone for Mayo. Obviously, you know the Mayo scene. Sligo, what about Sligo? Roscommon?
I don't think Sligo will get to the Connacht final. I think Roscommon will get to the Connacht final. They're a very decent team. They've some great forwards, Seneca Bride, Donny Shine and stuff like that. They weren't that keen on winning the league against Longford, Des. They trained very hard. They were concerned about New York. They scored 3-21 against New York. They have a lot of firepower. I fancy Mayo because if Mayo get Roscommon in the Connacht final, I think the Roscommon boys will be a bit intimidated by the Mayo lads. They haven't beaten them in a good number of years. The biggest concern I have for Mayo right now is that Ronan McGarity hasn't played for 6 weeks. He's an Achilles heel problem. And if we don't have him in the middle of the field, we have James Horn has 4 relatively newcomers, new players, very young players to pick from. And I think if Ronan isn't there, we could struggle a bit if we get to the Connacht final.
All right then, well, this is how the 7 lads chose to go for in Connacht. And Oisín McConville. Oisín, you're going against the odds everywhere. Well, you could well be right. 6 go for Mayo and Oisín goes for Galway. I back Oisín on this one. Anyway, one other element of the season is you always look forward to certain players who are going to turn it on and who'll be the players who light up the summer. We asked Pat and Kevin to each pick one player who they think will make a big impact on the summer. And Pat, I have to say, I was surprised to you because you've gone for, no disrespect, almost an old reliable.
I have gone for Gooch, and I make no apologies for choosing the Gooch because geniuses are rare in sport. You have Messi in soccer, you have Shefflin in hurling, and Gooch is an out-and-out, the only genius we have operating in Gaelic football. Unbelievably skillful. He can do things with a ball that an ordinary fella can't do. He has vision, he can score with left and right, he's a free taker. Brilliant, absolutely impossible to dispossess when in possession because his shimmies, his swivels, his sidesteps. Look, he's a box office draw. He is the player that supporters come to see. He's the fella that, when he's on the ball, the expectations rise. Like I said, he can see and do things that ordinary fellas can't do. And like I said, when he's on his day, he's unstoppable. He is absolutely magic. You know, we had arguments about team of the decade in the last year or so. No arguments. The player of the decade, last decade, was Gooch. He's captain this year, he's fresh, and he'll be a star in this year's championship. I think he's a genius. I think he's one of the greatest players I have ever seen.
You've just opened up a big debate there, the player of the last decade as well. You've gone for Colin. Who have you gone for, Kevin?
I went for Cork's Donnacha O'Connor, Des. He's a player, you know, I've been watching over the years. I've always admired him because of his high skill set, you know, loads of potential. But there were, and he'll know this himself, question marks about him. You know, I would say he was more confident about his confidence and his self-belief. And in 2010, he absolutely nailed that debate. I think he was terrific last year. Frees, penalties from play, key scores, and he's ended up now really Cork's, you know, go-to man. It's a great lesson for every player that often wonders, is he good enough? Can he make the breakthrough or whatever? Donnacha O'Connor is a class act, and I believe he's going to play a huge part if he stays healthy and stays fit in 2011.
All right then, well that brings us to our big question, who's going to win the All-Ireland? So let's ask each of our guests who they think will win and why. Jack O'Shea, All-Ireland.
Pat says Cork. I agree with Pat.
Barney Rock.
Well, I went for Cork. Des, I think that they're the best equipped. I think it could be a Cork-Kerry final, and if it is a Cork-Kerry final, you know, well then the Cork boys mightn't just like playing Kerry in the final, but I think Cork will win it.
Liam McHale.
Kerry. I think that the rest of it, as Pat said, I'd agree that the Gooch is sensational. They have a lot of good forwards. The only concern I'd have is young Murphy, David Moran, hurting his cruciate. I think he's a big loss. I saw him playing the McGrath Cup days and he really was turning into a fine footballer. But if they can patch the midfield up, I think they can come back.
Derek Kavanagh, you went for Kerry and Munster for the All-Ireland.
I think I go with Cork to probably beat Kerry in either a semi-final or final. I just think Cork have just an extremely strong panel all round, and you know, as the championship goes on and players get injured and stuff, I think they have enough to withstand anything that any team can throw at them. So I'll go with my own with Cork.
All right. Given that I'm agreeing with Oisín on most of this, who have you gone for the All-Ireland, Oisín?
Thank God I've went for Cork this time. I'm not on my own. But I just think Cork, physically, you know, they have got a lot of strength and depth. I think mentally they have the monkey off their back, you know, winning All Ireland last year. I think, you know, they won the league this year probably in third or fourth gear. And I think, you know, there's a couple of more gears there for us to see. There's a couple more new players coming through from the under 21s, and I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with for quite a while.
All right. Good news for Cork, if not everyone else. Thanks, Oisín. Kevin?
Yeah, I went for Kerry as well, Des, for lots of the reasons the lads have listed. The quality of their forwards is obviously the message everyone sends out. But what's often lost is that in the two O'Sheas, they probably have the two best defenders in the country as well. You know, and so versatile that either of the O'Sheas perhaps can be used now to sort out the problems that they have at centre back, even midfield. You know, they're just really good footballers, and they're versatile. So yeah, I go for Kerry.
I say 4 teams: Down, Dublin, Kerry, Cork, and it's between Kerry and Cork. And certainly Cork are now playing with the confidence that comes with being All-Ireland champions. But I fancy Kerry, and for a very simple reason. They have 4 of the top 10 forwards in the country in Declan, the Gooch, Kieran Donaghy and Paul Galvin. They have 2 of the top 5 or 6 backs in the two O'Sheas. They had a very good league. They're coming in as outsiders, and they're coming to the Boyle at the right time. Provided they keep disciplined and keep focused, I think it's theirs to lose.
OK, let's have a look then at how the overall verdict is from our 7 guests. 3 for Kerry, Pat, Kevin and Liam, and 4 go for Cork. Oisin, Derek, Jack and Barney go for Cork. No mention of the Dubs. All right, well, they're one of 30 counties who haven't been mentioned. Thank you very much to Pat and Kevin and to our football guests. Great having you here and to get your opinions. Coming up after the break, the action. The hurling championship got underway last night when Laois took on Antrim. And watching this one was Darren Frehill.